couple of things because you've done a lot of things, and I want to start at the beginning of JAR and how that came about and what that represents.
Um, well, I was doing something even before Jar, but the beginning of Jar, I had connected with Kiel and another girl named Gabby, and at the time we were just like getting together, and there was a whole idea of being the youth of the assembly of the Cuban resistance, since most of the exile community that had been still fighting for the freedom of Cuba and trying to bring awareness were people that were plantados or people that were much our older generation. So I think that after July 11, there is a need to kind of pass the baton, or as the saying, is in Spanish, is nosotros somos los pinos nuevos. We're the new pines, to kind of continue this movement and this resistance, from the exile.
Cool. And I guess with that being said, outside of the jar thing, I mean, there's a lot I want to get into. I mean, there's jar. So I want to get to jar in a second, but I also want to touch on Fuego de Fuego that I was able to participate during December. So
Ooh.
thank you for that.
Well, thank you for
Yes,
coming. Thank you for
thank,
coming.
thank, thank you for the invite. I had to represent Fuego de Fuego and how that came about. And while we know
Okay.
how that came about, can you please tell the importance how we could just use art in a way to like express our pain and our struggle and a representation of what the oppression does to the regime.
Okay, so Fuego contra el Fuego. I think there was always a need to be able to support the resistance artists, and seeing that they don't receive it's hard being an artist as is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're a political artist, I think that it's even harder for you to get exposure, or for people to to buy your work, etc., etc. And now being a resistance artist inside of Cuba is extremely difficult because you for sure cannot exhibit your work publicly. And they can, there's some works of art that they have locked up in prisons, just artwork that they have locked up in prisons. So I think that seeing the importance of art, seeing how other organizations like the People's Forum do call to artists so that they can use art and put in propaganda in their art, there was a need to be able to support artists who are expressing the truth and the reality of Cuba with their artwork. So the first thing that came with Fuego was there was an artist named Alexi Camilo Merino Tellez, who is exiled in Mérida, Mexico. He does like caricatures that some people find a little bit grotesque, but I like that it's kind of in your face. Some people are into it, some people are not, but that's art, right? So my friend Michelle was friends with Alexei, and she was like, "Hey, can we help him? Is there anything that we can do to exhibit his artwork?" And I was like, "Well, let's try." That was kind of something that we've been wanting to do, right? And we have done stuff through JAR with artwork where we helped raise money for los plantados y las plantadas for the movie by being able to auction off artwork and things like that. Um, and then this opportunity came, and then just one thing kind of fell into the other, just like how you say that we're a family. Somehow, people who believe in the mission, will give it its all. And one thing fell into the other. I think I had a conversation with Funky. I was looking for space just to be able to exhibit, right? Because we have no funds. All of these things that we do and that I do are on a volunteer base, or, out of my pocket. Once in a blue, there are people that see the work that I do and will help out in one way or another, but that's not something that I can count on. So Funky connected me with Galindo, and I went over, met him. At first he thought I was someone trying to pull his leg to do something. He hung up on me.
Yeah.
But then we connected, and he's amazing. And then the community kind of came together. That first Fuego was crazy for being the first thing that we did.
Mm-hmm.
4 Fridays back to back, and we had amazing turnouts. and we had different artists in our community come and perform. We had people come and do poetry. Plantados, ex-political prisoner. Speechy was an ex-political prisoner for 30 years. Angel Pardo también did, some poetry. It was just amazing. It was amazing. So that was the first, Fuego. After that, my friend Nando, who, that is still in prison, that he was
I want to
kidnapped
touch upon
on
that. I want to
December
touch upon
31st. We'll get into that. Nando was like, hey, if you can exhibit, let's start taking art out of Cuba. And I was like, do you think we could actually do that? You think that we can actually do this? I was like, listen, if we can make this happen, if we can get it out, I'll exhibit it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just, gonna throw it in the universe and see what comes back, but I'll exhibit it. So it was a long process of getting the artwork out. And we did. We got some of it out, right? There were obviously challenges and stuff like that, and we got the first a couple like 2 rounds out of work. And then another thing, I wanted to do something around the Basel time to try to get people that are not from our community. Because my goal, obviously, I want people from our community to be able to connect, to kind of like touch base, touch home, and see that people are still fighting so that we can support them. But my main goal is really to reach people who have no idea about what's going on in Cuba. And there's things that are expressed through artwork that cannot be expressed through words. And there's conversations that are inspired just by looking at a piece of art that can be, life-changing for someone, and that's just how I feel about it. So that happened. So the second Fuego was at Esquina de Abuela. That was also, an attempt for us to give visibility to Esquina de Abuela. Fabian, the owner of Esquina de Abuela, also is very passionate about the fight for the freedom of Cuba. Esquina de Abuela was named it's a homage to his grandmother, who was the original owner at the time, because that property was lost and he's still battling to save it. She was revolutionary at first, that became an anti-revolutionary, that was a political prisoner and fought for freedom. So it was important also to kind of like pay homage to her, pay homage to Esquina, to Fabian, and do an event there. And it was great. We had like over 200 people come out. Our mission was met. Unfortunately, after that event, Nando was arrested on the 31st, and he's still there. They're trying to accuse him of setting fire to the grandma boat that was in the Lenin Park Museum. And he obviously, they don't have any proof of that. So much time has come out, and I think that they've even told him that they've caught the individuals that were responsible for that. Yet they still haven't released him. And they've actually at times put him in cells with HIV patients as well.
Wow. I